Hey guys, so for today's video, I'm going to do this really pretty brown marble design. So to start off, I'm just taking Tomb Sweet Tomb from Ballpit and painting all of the nails with this. I did 2 coats of this and I painted each coat, or I cured each coat for 60 seconds. After using this in my video where I did like the fall nail stickers with the gold glitter border around it, I realized how pretty this color was and I really wanted to use it again because I really don't use this color. That last set was the first time I had ever used this color, and now this is the second time, and it is a really pretty sheer brown color. So like I said, I am doing a marble, and usually with marbles I will take the lightest color that I'm using in the marble and use that for the base of the nails, just so if I don't cover the entire nail with the marble, or like there's a gap, you can't tell and you're not just seeing like a clear nail underneath of it. Or if you were to, sculpt your nails out with like a nude acrylic or something, you're not seeing the color from your acrylic or your builder gel or whatever you use to sculpt out your nail. But for this set, I'm not doing the nail completely marble. I am doing kind of a little design with the marble. And I didn't want to use the same color that was going to be in the marble for the base. I wanted there to be contrast between the marble colors and the base color. So that's why I chose that for the base. And now here what I'm doing is I'm taking some gold chrome powder and mixing it into some base coat because I knew I wanted some gold in this marble, but the gold polishes that I had just weren't what I was looking for. They were more of a chunky glitter polish. They also weren't the right shade of gold that I wanted. So I decided to take the gold chrome powder and mix it in to the base coat because it was going to give me more of a shimmery color rather than a glitter color, and it was also going to be the exact shade of gold that I wanted. And I mixed up way more than what I thought I was going to use because I was going to apply the gold a little bit differently than how I ended up doing in the end. For the marble, I am using Fudge Pop, Caramel Drizzle, and Hot Hazelnut from Ballpit. Usually when I do marbles, I like to take a dark color, a medium color, and a light color. I just feel like it works really well that way, and you don't end up with like a super like muddy kind of marble, at least in my opinion. I don't know, I just feel like it works best when you have like a dark, a medium, and a light color. And I just lay them all down next to each other on my palette, and if they touch on the palette, it's perfectly fine because they're going to be touching on the nail anyhow. And when I scoop them up on the brush, like they're all going to mix and mingle anyways. So them touching on the palette is no big deal. And I lay down a lot on the palette because I know I'm going to be scooping up a lot, and I'm doing this on all 5 of the nails, so I try to lay out as much as I'm going to need. Usually I need to end up having to lay down more polish, but because I was doing a shorter set than what I usually do, this ended up being the perfect amount. But if you need to lay more down, then you can lay more down. But like I said, I ended up applying the gold a little bit differently, but usually I would lay the gold down with the other colors there so it would mix in with the rest, just like how the 3 are mixing together here as I'm laying them down. But I decided I wanted to do it a little bit differently because I really didn't want a whole lot of gold, and doing it this way was definitely going to apply more gold than what I was wanting. So After getting all of my polish mixed up and laid down on my palette, I just took my Beetles blooming gel and applied that to the nail. And then I took a gel applicator brush and scooped up the gel polish onto the brush and then just laid it down on the nail in the way that I wanted. I wanted the marble to kind of like swirl around the edges of the nails and leave like the middle part that sheer brown color. And after I laid that down, I just took a liner brush. This is an 11mm liner brush. It really doesn't matter what size you use, but I do like to tell you guys what size brushes I'm using just so you can kind of get an idea of when to use like certain length brushes and whatnot. But anyhow, like I said, I'm just taking this liner brush and scooping up some of the gold and just kind of swirling it and following the pattern of the marble to give a little added sparkle onto the nail. And then I do like to, whenever I'm using blooming gel, I do like to take a lint-free wipe and clean up the edges of the nails, so like the side walls, and then if needed I'll do around the cuticle area and the free edge as well. But usually I don't have to do around the cuticle or the free edge because it tends to pull down on like the side walls of the nail, and like but it likes to pull on the sides a lot more because they do curve down more, and you know the gravity is pulling it down. So I do clean those up to make sure that my shape is still nice. And then I did just set it off to the side to let it bloom a little more. I have been having a little bit of issues with my blooming gels. I do have a Born Pretty blooming gel and then this Beetles blooming gel. I do have another video that I filmed before this set where I realized my blooming gels were not working very well. But my Beetles one is working a little bit better than the Born Pretty one, so that's why I used the Beetles one in this video. But all that to say, I did just set the nails to the side to let them bloom out some more because like I said, the blooming gel just was not working. I know my Beetles one is super old, so I don't know if that has anything to do with it, and the Born Pretty one really isn't that old. I think they sent it to me either at the beginning of this year or the end of last year. I want to say it was the beginning of this year when they were sending me stuff. And they sent me this blooming gel. And the blooming gel, the Born Pretty blooming gel is alright. It works, but it's not my favorite. I definitely was liking the Beetles one a lot better prior to getting the Born Pretty one, but like I said, my Beetles one also isn't really working all that well. I think maybe just because it's kind of old. I've had that Beetles blooming gel for a long time. I think it's just kind of old and it's not working as well as it could maybe. So I need to look into getting some new blooming gel. I had been wanting to get some new blooming gel because like I said, I'm not really the biggest fan of the Born Pretty blooming gel. Like when I first got it, it worked all right, but I've noticed over time, like I feel like it's just not working as well no matter if I do a thin coat or a thick coat. Like it just isn't, I don't know. So I'm gonna have to test out some other blooming gels and see if I can find one that works well and that I really like. But anyhow, when it comes to blooming gels, I like to do a thinner coat just so I'm not adding a whole lot of bulk onto the nail, because the blooming gel is already a pretty thick gel, and then I'm, taking a big glob of gel polish and just slapping that on the nail, so that adds extra thickness on to the nail as well. So that's why I like to do a thinner coat. I have seen some people say that a thicker coat tends to work better and allows for the gel polish to bloom out more. But in my experience, that hasn't been the case with either one of these. Like the thicker one, it really does. Like if I do a thicker coat of it, it really doesn't work. And it just makes the nail super thick and bulky. So I don't know. It might just be the brand that they're using. I don't know. Blooming gel can be kind of hit or miss, I feel like. But anyhow, I set them all off to the side. This is like the third time I'm saying this now, but I keep like getting sidetracked and saying something else before I finish my thought, which is pretty typical for me. Anyhow, I set them off to the side to try and let them bloom out a lot more. They really didn't bloom as much as I was hoping they would. Kind of how you see them on the nails as I'm doing them is how they end up being in the end. But I was hoping if I just set them off to the side and let them kind of sit and do their thing, it would like spread out a little more. But it really didn't work so well. And then once I got the thumb done, I did do a full 60-second cure on all of the nails to make sure that they were completely cured. And I forgot to mention earlier that in between doing the nails, I will wipe off this gel applicator brush to remove like the buildup of polish on there, because it does tend to, like, the polish does get built up, and then sometimes you'll have too much of one color on that on your brush, because you can see like it deposits the colors a little differently on each nail. So I do like to wipe it off on like a lint-free wipe or a paper towel or something to remove that buildup of polish, so when I go in on the next nail, I don't have so much polish on the brush and I just have what I scooped up on it. for the top coat, I was going back and forth on if I should do them shiny or matte. So I decided to test out on this one nail first, the matte top coat, to see what that would look like before I top coated the rest of the nails. And this is what it looked like, and I was really liking how it looked matte, but I was also liking how it looked shiny as well. And it was such a struggle to try and decide if I wanted to do the nails shiny or matte, because they look really good both ways, whether they were shiny or matte. And I ended up sitting there for like 10 minutes trying to decide if I wanted to do shiny or matte, and ultimately I ended up deciding on making them all matte because I was really liking how they looked when they were matte, which, if you've been around long enough or if you've watched enough of my videos, you know that I am not a huge fan of matte nails. But I do always say sometimes some designs are just better being matte. But here lately, I feel like I've kind of been liking matte nails a little more. I did quite a few matte Halloween nails. The nails that I currently have right now, which were my Halloween nails, the trick-or-treat ones, they are matte, and I've really been liking them. But I still definitely prefer the shiny. I prefer shiny nails over matte, but I have really been liking matte here recently. I also feel like typically whenever I do fall nails, they usually are mostly matte, just because I feel like matte nail or fall nails look like fall nail designs are a lot better being matte. Also, like when I think of fall, for some reason I just think of like matte nails. Like shiny nails just don't fit in with the fall season. I don't know. So I went ahead and top coated all of the nails with my NAILZ by Dev matte top coat, cured that for 60 seconds, and the NAILZ by Dev matte top coat is a wipe off top coat, so you do have to take some alcohol and wipe off the sticky layer off the nails to get that matte effect. And this is the finished result, and I really love this set. They honestly kind of look like chocolate to me because of all the different browns. Like if you took a bunch of different types of chocolates and like swirled them around or like mixed them together, it also is low-key kind of giving me like coffee vibes. Like if you were to mix in like your creamers and flavorings and whatever, I don't know what all gets mixed into coffee. I don't drink coffee. I think it's nasty. But it more so gives me chocolate vibes, and I just really like this set. Like, it's super pretty, and I love the gold glittery shimmery bits that I added onto. I think it really just makes the design pop, even with it being matte. Like that gold shimmery polish that I mixed up, it looks so good on these nails. And looking at these now, I'm like, they low-key kind of look like the backs of Yu-Gi-Oh cards. I just remember all the kids like in elementary school, all the boys would collect Yu-Gi-Oh cards. There were a few girls that collected Yu-Gi-Oh cards too, but it was mainly the boys. And I just remember the back of them, and it kind of looks similar to that. But anyhow, I'm really happy with this set, and I really love how they came out. Like, they are so pretty. I don't do brown nails enough, and I feel like I need to start doing more brown nails because I always really like how they come out whenever I do brown nails. But that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it.